Welcome to another episode of Malicious Compliance by TaleSquare. Today, we've got 3 jaw-dropping stories where following orders exactly as told leads to some surprising twists. Up next, my boss insisted on how to organize my tools. Boss told me how to organize my tools. I have been a mechanic for nearly 15 years. I am the lead tech in my shop, and my company just sold recently to a different corporation, and with that came a new boss. A little bit of history about the new boss. He is 22, and the son of one of my older bosses, so everybody suspects a bit of nepotism at play. The older boss was ruthless and unpleasant and really put a dent in my confidence about being a mechanic, so I may hold somewhat of a grudge against the family, but I try to do my best to move on and just do my job. The new boss and I have had some minor issues already in the 3 months he has been here, but I'm the type of person who can generally put my feelings to the side if the money keeps ending up on my paycheck. Today, however, that changed. I will admit I am not the most organized person. I have ADHD, and at 33 years old, I'm still learning to function without the medicine that I weaned off of at 26. My toolbox is normally cluttered, but I keep all my tools in my area or on top of my box. It's the system that works for me. This morning, I clocked in and was about to unlock my box when the new boss came up to me and said, "You will not be working on cars today until your box is organized." I said, "My box is organized in the way that it works for me." He shot back with, "Not good enough for me or the company. I need to be able to find tools when I need them, and it needs to look neat and orderly for when corporate comes through." I paused for a second and said, "So you are telling me that you need to be able to find my tools that I have purchased when you need to use them?" I don't remember signing that agreement. He nodded and muttered something about insubordination and that he would be passing off all the work to the other technician until it was completed to his satisfaction. I had assumed he was bluffing until 3 cars came in, and all 3 tickets were handed to the other tech. I don't have any problem being told to clean up, and I would have even done it his way, but I had a problem with his tone, and this was messing with my paycheck. So while he was in the back doing tire inventory, I opened the top drawer of my toolbox, spread my arms, and swept every single thing into the drawer that I could. I repeated for the second and third drawer until the top was clean. I used the same process for both of my smaller carts until each one could be closed and locked. Then I clocked out for lunch. I am currently sitting in my car in the parking lot, eating lunch and browsing job listings while watching him try to open all of my drawers to use my tools because 3 more cars came in and the other tech can't handle 6 at a time. Update: I did not expect this to blow up like this. I clocked back in from lunch and the boss asked to speak with me. Apparently, he called the district manager and also his dad, who is a district manager of another district, for advice, and it sounds like they both told him to make it right and that he could not afford to lose me. I know how it sounds, but it's true. He told me that he just wanted to make a good impression on corporate, who would be coming through in a few weeks, and that he shouldn't have targeted me personally. He paid me for the 3 vehicles he worked on, and I let him know that I was willing to work with him. But if he ever spoke down to me again, there would not be a do-over. I would leave. He also inquired about buying his own tools. He's not a bad dude, just a little anxious, I guess. I suppose I will stick around for a little while, as the paychecks are worth it, and the drive is convenient, and I have a wife and a house to pay for. As for some of the responses, yes, I am somewhat of a slob with my toolbox, but I also average 10 to 15 cars a day, but I don't always have time or the drive to neatly organize my tools daily. He said he will be bringing his toolbox from home and calling or texting to ask to borrow before borrowing. I guess I am somewhat of a rare mechanic, as I don't mind people borrowing my tools as long as they are put back. Also, regarding the empty toolbox comments, I own all 4 of my toolboxes, so they would be coming with me if I left. Thanks for the support, guys. It seems like maliciously complying paid off for once. Get your files off my computer. Okay. The setup. While studying at university, I crossed paths with a hostile professor, let's call him Professor Nastiman, who absolutely did not want to be questioned about anything during class. Disruptive, he'd say. I'm a researcher with a PhD, he'd say. You're wasting my time, he'd say. Study harder, he'd say. Some of the other things he'd say would likely get this post deleted if I repeated them here. The trigger. I missed a lecture, so just before the next class started, I asked him if I might have a copy of his lecture notes from the class I'd missed. He blew up at me, slammed his papers down, and started ripping me a new one, saying that if I was not serious about his class, then I shouldn't be in it, and that I should just drop it. This went on until about 5 minutes into the class. Nobody else said a word, and the class continued. Cue the malicious compliance. The university had a surplus barn where unneeded equipment was palletized and sold at bulk rates. I got there first thing in the morning and spotted a pallet with a bunch of computer junk on it. For $50 US, I ended up with a dot matrix printer, a few 1200 baud modems, and an extended technology PC, monitor, and keyboard setup. Of course, I also got a receipt. My place wasn't far, so I borrowed a wheelbarrow and brought it all home in 2 trips. The printer was beyond repair. Only 2 of the modems still worked. The PC system booted up on the first try. I looked through the directory and saw what looked like drafts of a research paper and a whole lot of data files as well. The HDD's volume name was the same as Professor Nastyman's, so I rang up his office. His secretary, a sweet grandmotherly type, answered the phone. I explained what I had found. She asked me to hold. A minute or two later, Professor Nastyman himself was on the line, telling me to get those files off the computer now. Sir, yes, sir. I did it the right way too. I deleted all the data and document files. Then I overwrote the empty drive space with a huge file full of random bytes of data, deleted the file, and repeated the process 6 more times. Then I reformatted the HDD with a new OS. The PC booted right up to the DOS prompt, and I was happy with my new PC. The fallout at the next class session, Professor Nastyman greeted me by name and politely asked if I had removed the files from my computer yet. Of course, sir. I removed those files from my computer, just like you told me to. Why were they important? He told me how important the files were, something to do with 2 or 3 years of research data for a corporate-backed project. Sorry, sir, but you told me to get those files off my computer, so I did. Your secretary and anyone else listening in will verify that. Those files are gone, and there is nothing anyone can do about it. The epilogue. Professor Nastyman had to default on his project, which looked bad for his department and the university as well. Rumors suggested that he had made no backups because he feared plagiarism. I had a few discussions with the dean and some others about this, but it always came down to Professor Nastyman's own carelessness. I finished the class, got a decent grade, and never saw him again. Completely delete a client company's website and email services. Are you sure? Okay. This happened a few years ago, so details are a bit fuzzy and the chat is paraphrased. I was T2 tech support for a company that handles my country's largest ISP's entire professional email services, all its DNS management services, and a large portion of its website building and web hosting services. This company is tiny minute, not even a blip on the radar, but it has power that I will likely never again hold at my fingertips. One day, a ticket came in from the ISP. A big client company is moving away from our proprietary email services and into Microsoft 365 or some such equivalent change. This usually meant I got to help the client through the process of changing DNS records, migrating inboxes, or just backing up emails, and even actually setting up some stuff on the Microsoft side. Technically not my job, but the ISP's T1 tech support was woefully untrained for anything even remotely technical and terribly unprepared for most things merely commercial, and my company was awesome and treated me right. So, the ticket. ISP. Client is moving from Service X to Service Y. Please remove their subscription from the database. Me. There seems to be some sort of mistake, which was very common. We remove them from there once the new service is set up and running. Otherwise, it will delete everything in their subscribed package, including all email storage, DNS records, and website. You likely want to change their subscription to not include email services but keep the rest, since your Microsoft subscription doesn't include DNS and web hosting management. And even that change only after they have their new email service set up. ISP, yada yada. Confirm removal of their subscription. Me. Are you absolutely sure? This process is not recoverable. All their emails, DNS records, and entire website, including the database, will be permanently deleted. ISP. Request has been submitted. Remove subscription. At this point, it's been a couple of days since the first ticket, so I call my boss over, absolutely wonderful guy and extremely intelligent, and tell him what they're asking me to do. Boss. All right, let's show them they pay us because we know things and they don't. Don't delete the subscription, but suspend all the services that would be affected. Keep those tickets at hand and expect a phone call. If they call you, tell them to talk to me. God, that felt good. I mean, I felt bad for the client because their entire company basically shut down for an afternoon, but when they called my work phone directly from ISP, uncommon, usually just for emergencies, and the nice lady asked me what had happened with the client in that tone that says, I'm doing my best to hear all sides before making a decision, but I'm freaking the hell out right now. And I directed her to the tickets where I very clearly stated what would happen if I did what they told me to, and then told her to call boss. I felt so vindicated. Boss later told me to let them sweat for a couple of hours because the process should have been unrecoverable, and then turn the services back on. ISP was, yet again, absolutely thrilled with us, and my name kept coming up even more often as the person that solves things.